Hello again. Let me tell you about the history of cats. The domestic cat was a member of the cat family, the felids, which are a rapidly evolving family of mammals that share a common ancestor only 10 to 15 million years old, include lions, tigers, cougars, and many others. Within this family, domestic cats, Felis catus, are part of the genus Felis, which is a group of small cats containing about 7 species, depending on classification scheme. Members of this genus are found worldwide and include jungle cat of Southeast Asia, European wildcat, African wildcat, the Chinese mountain cat, and the Arabian sand cat, among others. The domestic cat is believed to have evolved from the Near Eastern wildcat, whose range covers vast portions of the Middle East, westward to the Atlantic coast of Africa. Between 70,000 and 100,000 years ago, the animal gave rise to the genetic lineage that eventually produced the domesticated cats, having diverged from the Near Eastern wildcat around 8000 BC in the Middle East. The domestic cat was first classified as Felis catus by Carl Linnaeus in the 10th edition of Systema Naturae, published in 1758. Because of modern phylogenetics, domestic cats are usually regarded as another subspecies of the wildcat, F. sylvestris. This has resulted in mixed usage of the terms, as the domestic cat can be called its subspecies name, Felis sylvestris catus. Wildcats have also been referred to as various subspecies of F. catus. But in 2003, the International Commission of Zoological Nomenclature fixed the name for the wildcats as F. sylvestris. The most common name in the use of the domestic cat remains F. catus. Sometimes the domestic cat has been called Felis domestis, as proposed by the German naturalist J.C.P. Erlexbeim in 1777, but these are not valid taxonomic names and have only been used rarely in scientific literature. A population of trans-Caucasian black feral cats was once classified as Felis daimon, but now this population is considered part of the domestic cat. All the cats in the genus share a common ancestor that is believed to have lived around 6 to 7 million years ago in the Near East, the Middle East. The exact relationship within the Felidae are close but still uncertain, e.g. the Chinese mountain cat is sometimes classified under the name Felis sylvestris beati as a subspecies of the wildcat, like the North African variety Fs libica. In comparison to dogs, cats have not undergone major changes during the domestication process, as the form and behavior of the domestic cats is not radically different from those of wild cats, and domestic cats are perfectly capable of surviving in the wild. Fully domesticated cats, house cats, often interbreed with feral F. catus populations, producing hybrids such as the Kelis cat. The limited evolution during domestication means that hybridization can occur with many other fields, notably the Asian leopard cat. Several natural behaviors and characteristics of wildcats may have been predisposed them to the domestication as pets. These traits include small size, social nature, obvious body language, love of play, relatively high intelligence. Several small felid species may have inborn tendency towards tameness. Cats have either a mutualistic or commensal relationship with humans. Two main theories are given about how cats were domesticated. In one, people deliberately tamed cats in a process of artificial selection, as they were useful predators of vermin. This has been criticized as implausible because the reward for such an effort has been too little. Cats generally do not carry out commands, and although they do eat rodents, other species such as ferrets or terriers may be better at controlling these pests. The alternative idea is that cats were simply tolerated by people and gradually diverged from their wild relatives through natural selection, as they adapted to hunting the vermin found around humans in towns and villages. Traditionally, historians tended to think ancient Egypt was the site of cat domestication, owing to the clear depictions of house cats in the Egyptian paintings around 3,600 years old. However, in 2004, the Neolithic grave excavated by Sri Lanka, Cyprus, contained the skeletons, laid close to one another, of both a human and a cat. This grave is estimated to be 9,500 years old, pushing the date back for the earliest known feline-human association significantly. The cat specimen is large and closely resembles the African wildcat. Rather than the present-day domestic cats, the discovery, combined with genetic studies, suggests cats were probably domesticated in the Middle East, in the Fertile Crescent, around the time of the development of agriculture, and then they brought to Cyprus and Egypt. Direct evidence of the domestication of cats 5,300 years ago in Quanacum, China, has been published by archaeologists and paleontologists from the University of Washington and Chinese Academy of Sciences. The cats are believed to have been attracted by the village by rodents, which in turn were attracted by grain cultivated and stored by humans. In ancient Egypt, cats were sacred animals, with the goddess Bastet often depicted in the cat form, sometimes taking on the warlike aspect of the lioness. Killing a cat was absolutely forbidden, and the Greek historian Herodotus reports that whenever a household cat died, the entire family would mourn and shave their eyebrows. Families took their dead cats to the sacred city of Bubastis, as they were embalmed and buried in sacred repositories. Domestic cats were probably first introduced to Greece and southern Italy in the 5th century BC by the Phoenicians. The earliest unmistakable evidence of the Greeks having domestic cats comes from 2 coins from the Magna Graecia dating back to the 5th century BC, showing Lokastos and Philanthos, the legendary founders of Rhegium and Taros respectively, playing with their pet cats. House cats have been extremely rare among the ancient Greeks and Romans. Herodotus expressed astonishment at the domestic cats in Egypt, because he had only seen wild cats. Even during later times, weasels were far more commonly kept as pets than weasels. And weasels, not cats, were seen as the ideal rodent killers. The usual ancient Greek word for cat was erlos, meaning thing that with the waving tail, but this word could be applied to any of the various long-tailed carnivores kept for catching mice. Cats are rarely mentioned in the ancient Greek literature, but Aristotle does remark in his History of Animals that female cats are naturally lecherous. The Greeks later syncretized their own goddess Artemis with the Egyptian goddess Bastet, adopting Bastet's association with cats and ascribing them to Artemis. In Ovid's Metamorphoses, when the gods flee to Egypt and take animal forms, the goddess Diana, the Roman equivalent of Artemis, turns into a cat. Cats eventually displaced ferrets as the pest control of choice, because they were more pleasant to have around the house and more enthusiastic and hunters of mice. During the Middle Ages, many of Artemis's associations with cats were grafted onto the Virgin Mary. Cats are often shown in icons of Annunciation and the Holy Family, and according to Italian folklore, on the same night that Mary gave birth to Jesus, a virgin cat in Bethlehem gave birth to a kitten. Domestic cats were spread throughout much of the rest of the world during the Age of Discovery. As ships, cats were carried on sailing ships to control shipboard rodents and as good luck charms. Several ancient religions believe cats were exalted souls, companions, or gods for humans that are all-knowing but mute, so they cannot influence decisions made by humans. In Japan, the Maneki Neko cat is a symbol of good fortune. In Norse mythology, the Frigga, the goddess of love, beauty, and fertility, is depicted as riding a chariot drawn by cats. In Jewish legend, the first cat was living in the house of the first man, Adam, as a pet that got rid of mice. The cat was once partnering with the first dog before the latter broke an oath and they had made, which resulted in enmity. enmity between the descendants of these two animals. It also written that neither cats nor foxes are represented in the water, while every other animal has an incarnation species in the water. Although no species are sacred in Islam, cats are revered by the Muslims. Some Western writers have stated Muhammad had a favorite cat, Mueza. He is reported to have loved the cat so much he would do without his cloak rather than disturb that was sleeping on it. The story has no origin in early Muslim writers and seems to confuse the story of a later Sufi saint, Ahmad ar-Rifa, centuries after Muhammad. One of the companions of Muhammad was known as Abu Hurairah, father of the kitten, in reference to the documented affection of cats. Superstitions and cat burning. Many cultures have negative superstitions about cats. An example would be the belief that a black cat crosses one's path leads to bad luck, or that cats are witches' familiars used to augment a witch's powers and skills. The killing of cats in medieval Ypres, Belgium, is commemorated in the innocuous, present-day Kattenstoot, a cat parade. In medieval France, cats would be burnt alive as a form of entertainment, according to Norman Davies. The assembled people shrieked with laughter as the animals, howling in pain, were singed, roasted, and finally carbonized. It was the custom to burn a basket, barrel, or sack full of live cats, which was hung from a tall mast in the midst of the bonfire. Sometimes a fox was burned as well. The people collected the embers and the ashes of the fire and took them home, believing that they brought good luck. The French kings often witnessed these spectacles and often lit bonfires with their own hands. In 1648, Louis XIV, crowned with a wreath of roses and carrying a bunch of roses in his hand, kindled the fire, danced at it, and partook in the banquet afterwards in the town hall. But this was the last occasion when the monarch presided at the midsummer bonfire in Paris. At Metz, the midsummer fires were lighted with great pomp and esplanade, and the dozen cats, enclosed in wicker cages, were burnt alive in them, to the amusement of the people. Similarly to at Gap, in the department of Hautes-Alpes, cats used to be roasted over the midsummer bonfire. According to myth, in many cultures, cats have multiple lives. In many countries, they are believed to have 9 lives. But in Italy, Germany, Greece, and Brazil, and some Spanish-speaking regions, they are said to have 7 lives, while in Turkish and Arabic traditions, the number of lives is 6. The myth is attributed to the natural suppleness and swiftness cats exhibit to escape life-threatening situations. Also lending credence to this myth is the fact that fallen cats often land on their feet, which is an instinctive righting reflex to twist their bodies around. Nonetheless, cats can be injured or killed by a high fall. That's the history of cats. Thank you for watching and have a great day.